Nick Fuentes dropped absolute bombs on the Hodge Twins podcast, giving a fast history lecture on the history of the EU, how Israel taking over Palestine is like Muslims taking over Texas and then making their own country, how the British passport actually says Palestine on it, and how the United States government lied about the war in Iraq, not to mention, God bless the Charlie Kirk family. They discussed controversial topics of him and his company Turning Point before his unfortunate demise. We've got megalithic donors pushing the agenda behind this $40 million Turning Point business. Now that we've got the business out of the way, lock in, smash that subscribe button, and let's run it.
Because they don't realize how powerful the Jewish lobby is. How much influence they have on the Democrat running for president and the Republican. It's like they actually choose our president for us. Yeah, it's like the whole pharmaceutical game. Both sides are sold out to them, and conservatives are not aware. They're not aware of that.
No, they're not. It's something that is so. If you're in politics, it's in plain sight. You cannot avoid it. If you work in D.C. and you work in politics, you know that on every campaign they'll literally have a guy there, and his job is to say, you need to write more about Israel in this speech. Like, every campaign's got a guy like that. Even if you look at the Republican nomination, they all got to go to the Republican Jewish Coalition Conference. I think it's even here in Vegas, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah?
I
wouldn't know. I'm not going.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan.
But they all got to go there and bend the knee. They all go to AIPAC, the annual conference. Ron DeSantis, just weeks before he announced for president last year, he was in Israel with Miriam Adelson, a couple of Jewish donors from Colorado. And I don't know. It's like you say, the base of the Republican Party just doesn't know the facts. They just don't know it works like this. But it's the worst kept secret in politics. If you're in politics, everyone knows about it, and nobody talks about it because there's consequences. If you talk about it, they nuke you from orbit and your career's over. So that's this very troubling dynamic that exists.
Yeah. We don't choose the president. It's just not how it works. America doesn't choose a president. It's donor boardrooms and billionaires that we don't even vote for that just have the money to put them. It's all a facade. It's all a show.
You cannot fix it.
It's all a picture.
No, there's no way you're going to fix that. Money's not going to fix it. I mean, nothing's going to fix that. And I see it as nothing more than ethnic cleansing when you take country. I mean, that was your whole purpose, to make it a Jewish state. Yeah. That's ethnic cleansing. It's no going back. You cannot fix that. Because the Palestinians, it's like you're creating more people that you're now labeling as terrorists.
Yes.
Like, I made this argument the other day. I was like, what's going on in Israel? Like, for example, the British, when they helped found the Jewish state. That's like Canada and Mexico coming together and say, hey, we're going to make Texas the Muslim state.
Yep.
And now you're turning everybody that lives there into now terrorists because they're not going to stand up for that.
Right.
And that's how I make the argument to conservatives. That's what's going on in Israel. Because I think these people are just retaliating to what happened to their families.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because 100 years ago, it was nearly all Muslims. The population was 95% Muslim. 99% of the land was owned by Muslims. That was at the turn of the last century.
Were there Christians and Jews there too? Or
there were, but they were a very small minority in Palestine.
That's the whole purpose, to make it a Jewish state. That's the whole purpose. They was not the majority. Right. At all.
Exactly. It was intentional. And the organized Zionists, because that's what the movement's called, the Zionism, this we're going to bring the Jewish people, create a Jewish country. They used some very spurious tactics to bring people over there. Like they would create actually fake anti-Semitic attacks to scare Jews. In Eastern Europe, in Iraq, they would go there and say, it's not safe for Jews. You have to go to Palestine to drive Jewish immigration. A lot of people said, we don't want to move to Palestine. We don't want to move to this place where there's no Jewish people. So they had to scare them into going over there. And they even worked with the Nazis, actually. A lot of people don't know that. It's called the Transfer Agreement. And the early Zionists worked with Hitler and the Nazis to bring a lot of the German Jews to Palestine. And over the course of a half century, they completely took over the land. They through immigration, largely brought all these people over there. And then with the help of the United States, the United Kingdom, they established this country. And in 1948, they massacred the existing population. In establishing the country, they went in there and they massacred thousands of people, drove them from their land. And that is what created the roots of every radical Muslim group that you see today. The roots of Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Hamas, all goes back to what they call the Nakba in 1948. And so I'm a Christian, so I don't agree with the terrorist tactics like suicide bombing and killing civilians yet. And there's nuance. These are people that have been oppressed, massacred, women and children killed for generations. They're angry. They're angry, and they've been forced into an impossible, unsolvable situation. Doesn't make what they're doing right, but it's not like what other people say where like they're the antagonist, like they initiated this, like they just have hatred in their hearts.
Well, you know what, Nick? They hold in Palestinians, original people of, I guess it used to be called UK Palestine. Mm-hmm. They hold them to a high standard that we only hold ourselves up to, because when we got attacked in Pearl Harbor, we dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan.
Absolutely.
Are we terrorists? Because that's what this exact same tactic they're using.
Absolutely. And it was all civilians with the nuclear bombs. Those were civilian targets, not military targets. Mm-hmm. And, in the case of what's going on over there, you have to ask yourself, it's like you said, what is the solution? Because it's clear that Israel will not accept a Palestinian state. Yeah. So what are we supposed to do with all these millions of people that live there, have lived there for generations? Israel's literally choking them off with a blockade. No food, no water, no energy, no medicine, no electricity. What are they expected to do? Accept ethnic cleansing, accept genocide? So, but this is a function of how controlled the media is. You never get that side of the story. From conservative media, from PragerU, Daily Wire, Breitbart, Fox News, New York Post, they're all pushing that Israeli line.
Nobody sheds a light on it. Nobody.
Exactly. So you're only getting one side of the story, and conservatives don't want to listen.
Like, I follow a bunch of conservatives. I'm going through my feed, and it's like, I know the left is stupid, but to see that same level of stupidity with conservative voters, it's like, it pisses me off. It's like, how can y'all not see what's going on? Like, you have a holistic approach, a viewpoint on what's going on there. I mean, like when they flew those planes on 9/11, they didn't do that for no reason. They had a reason why they did it, not just because they're just crazy. They had a reason.
Radical, or they just hate America. No,
they're retaliating because we did the same thing to their family. And I make this argument. I was like, you see how our own government is treating Trump right now. Imagine what our government has been doing for the last few decades to other citizens of other countries. Yeah. And they don't understand that.
Absolutely. Well, and 9/11 is a perfect example where Osama bin Laden said that he got the idea for 9/11 because he saw the towers burning in the Israeli-Lebanon war in the 1980s.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that because, again, you don't get that side of the story. He wrote in his letter, first and foremost, that these attacks were motivated by America's support for Israel.
Right.
And specifically the idea of the towers, attacking the towers, came from Israel's brutal war in Lebanon, where they were attacking high-density, urban, residential, just like they're doing in Gaza right now, massacring civilians. And so, it's like with anything else. There's an action and a reaction. Right. You can't go and support Israel blowing up all their neighbors, massacring women and children, using illegal tactics, stealing nuclear weapons.
Yeah. When this conflict first started a few weeks back, they said Hamas bombed their own hospital.
Right.
I don't believe that. How do you confirm that? Is that what happened? Where do we go? Live leak or something and verify that?
Well, it's tough. In a war zone, you really don't know because both sides have an interest in lying, right? And there are two equally plausible theories. You're talking about the Al-Shifa hospital bombing, and Palestine or Hamas says, well, Israel bombed our hospital because, they're barbarians. Israel says, well, we didn't bomb the hospital. They shot a rocket at us. It malfunctioned and fell on their hospital. Of course, Hamas has an interest in saying it was Israel because then they can draw international condemnation of Israel. Israel has an interest in lying because then they avoid that international condemnation. There's evidence that cuts both ways. That was several months ago, and I debated Alex Jones about it. You can look at the sound. There's a video of the actual projectile hitting the hospital, and people have analyzed the sound and say, what projectile does it sound like? Who has the capability to launch such a projectile? People look at the damage that was done and where the projectile landed. They look at the size of the crater. I guess it blew up a parking lot, and they compare that to the initial reports.
Hamas doesn't have that capability, do they?
Right, and that's exactly right. It was a huge crater, and It is fair to say, though, that a lot of the Hamas projectiles do fail, and they do sometimes hit their area. Either way, I mean, that's something that totally gets in the way of the bigger reality, which is that Israel's indiscriminately bombing infrastructure and people. So you could point at an individual one. There was another hospital in North Gaza where Israel controlled the hospital. They had cleared it of militants, and then they burned it. They burned it to the ground and razed it. Why would Israel, in a legitimate military conflict, burn down civilian infrastructure? Because the argument goes, well, they're using people as human shields. We have to bomb schools and hospitals.
How true is that?
It's
I can't
BS.
even verify that.
Yeah.
They dehumanizing the people involved. That's how they get around that. Yeah.
Exactly.
I always thought that was a Jewish talking point. Yeah. I think it's bizarre that you sound like you're far left. And was that you under those masks? And those colors?
Yeah. That was me at Columbia and UCLA.
Studied all that shit.
Yeah.
Damn sound. Yeah. So man, I'm thinking. I mean, I got an interesting question. Yeah. They said Palestine never existed. I go on TikTok and I look at videos of old Jewish people, Muslims, original Palestinians. They said their passports say Palestine.
That's right. It's been called Palestine for thousands of years. It was called Palestine under the Roman Empire thousands of years ago.
Bring up that map, because I was talking to Tim Kennedy yesterday. He told me that was propaganda.
No. That's the other side is propaganda.
I was like, dude, it's all over the web. I mean, Google will allow. How can you deny that? Passports. I put up a map. It says Palestine.
Yep.
Yeah. When you it's like that's how they lied to your face when the evidence is in your face. It actually says that in the Bible. You know, and it's when you're being told one thing when the truth is right in front of your eyes. I mean, all you have to do is look, and they're banking on your stupidity. That's what they're banking on. They're looking at you and saying, he's not going to go look at that up. He's not going to go look that mess up. That dumbass. Come on.
It's like, you're not being genuine about that. Okay, it's like some old map and it says Palestine on it.
Well, what they are trying to do when
you
they
know what
say
it is
there's
with
no
their
such
mic
thing
is that they are using the NVIDIA broadcast and they're doing the audio where it helps reduce the noise in the room, but it's messing up their mic. I don't use that.
Is Palestine. They're trying to undermine the claim of the native Arab Muslim population to having a legitimate territory. Because if they go in and say, well, there was never a Palestinian nation, then they can say that theirs is the only claim to the land. And there is, I mean, the argument goes something like, it was called Palestine under the Romans. It was called Palestine under the British. They never had nationhood because for thousands of years it was controlled by various empires. So there was never a Palestinian nation state like there was a German nation state or an Italian. But I mean, that's actually an apropos comparison. Germany did not exist until the 1870s. You know that? Germany was never unified until I think 1871, 1873. Italy was never unified until the late 19th century, around the same time. Does that mean that there was never an Italy? Does that mean there was never a Germany?
According to Republicans.
Yeah, right.
Conservatives.
That's right. So this is a semantic game. It's wordplay that they use to say these people that have been here for thousands of years have no claim to the land. We're the only legitimate claimant. And so that's just like
this is bizarre. Like we're supposed to be all about democracy, this country. Yeah. The people who was living in Palestine had no say-so in what happened.
Right. The comparison that you gave about what if Canada and Mexico conspired to clear Texas? Of course, the people that live in Texas wouldn't be very happy about it. And if they resisted, what if someone came in and said, well, Texas was never a country. It was a state. Like, okay.
Right. Okay, makes sense.
Right. So that's the same thing they're doing over there. And
it's a very, very good point. Imagine if somebody came and to your state or your country or your territory and said it wasn't sufficient enough to just be on its own and be operable.
And all that is to say is that the Palestinians have a legitimate claim to the land, and there should be. And by the way, that's the official American position. For as long as there has been an Israel, since 1948, Americans have said that it must be Palestinians and Israelis. And what might interest you is that in 1948, this is when Israel declared independence,
Right.
there was a huge debate within the Truman administration about whether they would recognize Israel's existence. The Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, both said, absolutely not. We cannot recognize Israel because at that time we had great relations with the Muslims.
Right.
We got our oil from them, which we relied on heavily until fracking came out. And they said this would totally compromise our national interest to recognize Israel. We can't do it. And so Truman was initially not going to. And then the Zionist donors, pro-Israel donors, started pulling their money. And they started getting immense political pressure. And then all of a sudden, Truman changed his tune and they recognized Israel. And then the Secretary of State that opposed it mysteriously killed himself after he got fired a few months after that happened.
Man, should we even be talking about this shit? They doing the same thing all the advertisers do.
Yeah.
Like on censoring people, I'm going to take away the ads.
Yeah.
They did the same thing to him. I'm going to take away your donor money. It's like, it's the same. They use the same steps to censor people.
Yeah. You know what really opened my eyes? When I was looking at some protests, and I keep hearing these Palestinian protests, they call them anti-Israel. I think they just want their people to stop being murdered. They kept saying free Palestine. I said, what does that even mean? So I started typing, I did research, and that's when I started opening my eyes. I said, what? This place is called Palestine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I started doing my research how it was colonized by the European Jews. And then I was looking at all the pictures of what Palestine looked like. It looks apocalyptic.
Yep.
It's like end of time. And I was like,
Yeah,
wow.
getting bombed now. Yeah. Charlie Kirk, what do you think of him?
I'm not a fan. No.
I came across the video of him, and I'm trying to put it in the context. He was talking about what's going on in Israel, and I'm sure he gets a lot of money from. Yeah,
He does, yes. Oh, yeah.
so there's a huge conflict there.
Yes.
I mean, but I like what he's doing for his organization.
Yeah.
Getting the word out, being Republicans, this and that. But no, I still can criticize.
Yeah.
Damn it, what did he say? He'd rather have the Jewish people have control of the holy area than the Muslims.
Why is that?
Yeah. Well,
Because it's the money talking.
this is like a totally new provisional argument that they came up with because me and Charlie Kirk kind of go a ways back 5-6 years ago. You know, I initially was not unfriendly towards him in Turning Point. I actually tried to do speaking gigs with Turning Point. They banned me from speaking at their
I think
campus.
they did the same to us. We feel
Yeah,
edgy.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't let me speak. And then back in 2019, I actually was photographed with Ashley St. Clair, who is now a big influencer on X. And
Yeah.
she's a pretty nice person. I mean, we don't agree on everything, but she's a nice person.
Yeah.
And so we got a picture. We were at some party. They removed her as an ambassador because she appeared in a photograph with me. Turning Point did.
That's what I don't understand about conservatives. They don't believe in censorship, but then they censor their own people. Like, look what happened to Candace Owens.
Exactly. She got fired by Daily Wire, and for no reason other than she had the wrong opinion. She
Right.
criticized Israel.
It's like we trash the left for censoring. Facebook, people getting banned, and then they do the exact same thing.
Yeah. Well, because just like the left, it's interest-based money politics. Turning Point makes $40 million a year. Daily Wire makes $200 million a year. Where do you think all that money comes from? And what services sustain a huge business like that? Extremely interested parties. And so everybody thinks that politics, they think that guys like Charlie Kirk and Shapiro are like you and me. Like they're earnestly going on in front of a camera and telling us their opinions. They make a lot of money, and that money comes from the discretionary budgets of major corporations, major nonprofits, foreign governments. All that money doesn't flow to these people so they could spout off on their opinion. It goes to these people because they're advancing a narrative which benefits particular interests.
Right.
So someone like Bernard Marcus, he's the owner of Home Depot. He's a hardcore Jewish Zionist. He says he's supporting Trump, endorsed Trump in part because Trump is so pro-Israel. He's one of the top donors to Turning Point. Now, if Turning Point came out and said they don't support Israel, do you think Bernard Marcus would continue supplying millions of dollars to Turning Point? Probably not. So this is what explains a lot of the positions that you get from Fox News, New York Post. That's another example. Fox News and New York Post are both owned by News Corp, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch is a close personal friend of Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, literally shares his condo in London whenever he visits the country. So there's this downstream effect. And so someone like Charlie Kirk canceled me. My followers went to his speeches on the campuses during the Q&A, and they would say, hey, like, why do we support Israel so much? That's not really America first.
It's not.
Not at all. And you could say whatever you want about Israel. You may like Israel. You may have some allegiance to it. If you're Jewish, I get it. I'm Italian. I have affinity for Italy. But you have to have one allegiance to America if you live in America.
Right.
If you make your money in America, you talk to Americans about America, you got to be America first. First, last, only. That's the problem people have. But Charlie Kirk back then would say, well, Israel's our closest ally because they provide so many benefits and all this stuff.
What did he really mean by that? They're our closest ally. Yeah. How do we benefit from Israel? It's just I'm sure it's something. It's semantics for they give me the most money.
That's 100%. Because there is no tangible benefit. If anything, it's the opposite. I mean, you look at, for example,
they're going to drag us into a damn war.
Oh, they're doing it right now. They bombed an Iranian embassy in Syria. That's an act of war. And they know that if Iran and Israel go to war, we got to back them up. And so, but it's the same thing they did with Iraq. They gave us false intelligence that said that Saddam Hussein had nuclear weapons.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Exactly. And they didn't.
They didn't.
We were there for 20 years, trillions of dollars. It was all these neocons, quite like Shapiro and the rest of them, that were agitating for war back then. And they defended it for 20 years until Trump came in. This is one of the reasons I support Trump.
Right.
Even though he's pro-Israel, he came in 2016 and said, what are you talking about? The Iraq war was a mistake.
Right.
Conservatives still, at that point, were defending the Iraq war for some reason, even though it was proven to have been under false pretenses. But
the only people really benefited from that war was the Bush family. They had just make a lot of money off those weapons they was manufacturing.
The Bush family and Israel. Israel in 1994 commissioned a report called the Clean Break Report by 3 members of the Bush administration before they worked in the Bush administration, named Douglas Feith, Pearl, Paul Wolfowitz. This was in 1994. Benjamin Netanyahu commissioned these guys to write a report. It's called the Clean Break Report, called Securing the Realm. And the idea was that Israel had peace on its southern border with Egypt, peace on its eastern border with Jordan, because America paid off both of those countries in 1979 and 1993. They paid off Egypt and Jordan to make peace with Israel. But Israel said we have this persistent problem on our northern border with Lebanon because Lebanon has Hezbollah, which is anti-Israel. They're getting money from Iran. They're getting money from Syria. They're getting money from Iraq. So they said in order to secure Israel's northern border, we got to take out Iraq. We got to take out Syria. We got to take out Iran. The people that wrote this report in 1996 all went to work in the Bush administration 5 years later. What happened after 9/11? We invaded Iraq. We destabilized Syria. And what are we doing right now? Right now, saber rattling with Iran. Iran in the crosshairs, and we're going to blow up their nuclear program. We're taking on Hezbollah and Lebanon. So it's very clear that the beneficiary of all this war, not just Iraq, but all of it, Yemen, Libya, Sudan, all of it, it all goes back to securing Israel's borders. And they've been writing about that for the last 50 years.
Yeah. Shit. You know,
he said it. It's all about securing Israel's borders. This is what these wars are all about. This is why the United States government and also your child, your son, your daughter, your military vet, your family member is out over there fighting and dying in these wars to secure their borders. And they say it's for our borders. That's not America first. Hit that like and subscribe if you made it all the way to the end. Watch one of these videos at the end here on the playlist. And God bless Family Kirk. God bless the Charlie Kirk family. I'll see you in the next one.
They
Peace.
call me Danks on Lock. Yeah. They call me Danks on Lock.